Welcome everyone to Nerd of the Rings. We are back live again today, and we're talking with Don Marshall. Don, how's it going, man?
It's going really well. Thank you so much for having me, man. This has been great.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to talk about Don's new book. We got a new Tolkien book. Whoop, there we go. Uh, there we go. We got it both up. J.R.R. Tolkien, the father of modern fantasy. So this is a brand new book. Comes out today. It is
Comes
out
out today.
today.
Yep.
It is out today. So you can order it now. I've got the link in the description and everything if you want to check that out. So Don, let's jump right into it. Tell us about the new book.
Yeah, the book is oh gosh, where to even start? Well, it's 100 short stories. Let me close this door so my dog doesn't interrupt me. I'm a
This is
very
the fun
prepared
part of being
professional
live.
streamer. I just want to be very
Yes,
clear. I am so professional and
this
ready for
is
this 100%
possibly
of the
the
time.
most professional opening I've ever had on here, so we're good.
Yeah. So this is my book. This is J.R.R. Tolkien, the father of modern fantasy. It is 100 short stories about J.R.R. Tolkien and his life and his legacy and the stuff that came after him, and just a whole bunch of really fun things, some not so fun things, all about his life and what he did while he was writing The Lord of the Rings, while he was growing up in South Africa, his relationship with people like C.S. Lewis and Evie Gordon, and just all of these remarkable people that he surrounded himself with. And I really wanted to come into this book and like not put Tolkien up on a pedestal. I
Mm,
wanted to sort of make him seem like he was a real life person, and I
mm,
hope I did that.
very cool. One of the things that as I have started getting into the book a bit here, and it lends itself quite well the way it's formatted to just like picking a page at random and reading. Like I noticed, they're fairly brief sections, and so you can just kind of open up to something, read a little bit about Tolkien, and then keep reading more about Tolkien if you want to, or
Yeah, this is
you
very
can
much.
like revisit it quite often. It feels like, was that like an intentional decision?
Yes, this was very much intentional. It is my ADHD brain trying to make sense of everything. I do go to try and go into like a kind of order. So like we'll
Hmm.
start when he was born in South Africa. We will continue in his childhood when he meets, Edith, his soon to be wife, his studies, the TCBS, the Tea Club and Barovian Society. And it kind of goes into this natural progression of his
Hmm.
life, but really we wanted to keep it a little bit shorter. Each entry is between like 350 to 400 words, and they're little snippets that I really wanted people to sort of want to know more after reading it. So you
Hmm.
read one of them and then you say, oh wait, he grew up in South Africa, let me go online and figure out more about it. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to make sure that my sort of TikTok format of short form video translated
Mm.
well into the book.
Yeah. That's a good connection. You gotta meet people with their, attention spans where they're
Yeah,
at in their, meet
exactly.
people where they're at with their attention spans.
Exactly, exactly. That was kind of the initial discussion when I was talking with the publisher, like, okay, short stories. I can do that. How short? Because we've got, 1 minute
Yeah.
TikToks do not always translate well into a 300 to 400 to maybe 500 word essay.
Right.
So we try and keep them, as informative as we possibly can. There's definitely some obscure Lord of the Rings facts in there. I try to include as much. I won't say random trivia because that's not the
Mm.
basis for a
Yeah.
book. But I tried to sneak in as much as I possibly can, just getting that in there.
Yeah. Like you see a lot of that in the kind of the gold colored text at the end of sections. We get literary connection, like just random little tidbits here and there.
Yeah, so these are
Yeah.
these are my little literary connections and tidbits at the end. So
Yeah,
things
the
that
more
have
you
to do
know.
with,
You have some
yeah,
entitled "The More You Know," which I
it
like
literally is the
as a
more you
'90s
know in
kid,
some of
yeah.
these. We tried to make sure that everything that we wrote about was connected to Tolkien in some way, and sometimes I found
Mm.
myself getting a little bit sidetracked, so they were like, "Hey, we're gonna
Reel you
continue to
back in?
add."
Yeah.
Yeah, and, that's the job of the publisher, and I am so grateful, to the entire team that helped me make this book, because it is very much not a one-person, uh, job. Like, I
Yeah.
very much could not have done this on my own. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I don't have the distribution, and, writing the book was one thing, editing it, I'm sure, was
Yeah.
another, because my edits came back and they were like, "Hey, we need you to change just, like,
Mm.
all of this. None of this is not none, I should say." At a
So
certain
you've
point, they were
written the
like,
book twice is what you're saying.
yeah. It did kind of feel that way, honestly, because you
Yeah.
get the edits back and they're like, "Okay, we need you to rewrite this section. And also we
Mm.
need you to rewrite this section. And then reword this section, and this over here, we want you to move over here, and then let's change the order
Yeah.
for, whatever we wanna put it here and then over there." And it's such a whirlwind. I never expected it to be like it was, but I'm so grateful that I was able to learn the process, because it is, 1, a little terrifying, and 2, if I
Yeah.
do it again, I really want to be able to, like, hit the ground running and,
Yeah.
uh, be able to sort of bring an even better book to the table.
Yeah. So, okay, so you mentioned, if you were to do it again, you'd do it, differently a little bit, or, you'd adjust for what you now know that you didn't know before. So,
Yes. Yeah.
what about doing a book for the first time caught you off guard, or what do you
Oh.
wish you knew before writing a book for the first time?
Yeah, a lot. We could actually spend the entire interview talking about this, but I'll, I'll save you some of the time for that. I think the thing I wish I knew is, like, how much energy it's going to take
Mm,
to figure out the thought process and finding the right words. Finding the right words was the thing for me that, like, I had to go back and forth so many times and reread my own writings so many times just to
mm,
say, "Hey, this is not the idea I'm trying to get across. This is not, what I wanted to say, or not what I wanted to have be the thought process." And then I had to go back and talk with my editors and figure out what that looked like. And, the table of contents itself
mm.
was a journey all its own, just
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
figure out, like, okay, so this part I'm going to write about when he was growing up, and then this part I'm going to write about his kidnapping when he was a small child, and this next part is going to be, the death of his father, or any number of things. And just trying to figure out what to focus on
Yeah.
was probably the hardest part. Bringing in the idea of what's important and what not isn't important, because obviously, his whole life was just this whirlwind.
Yeah.
But there were also parts that, I didn't necessarily need to include.
Mm, yeah.
And I had to sort of figure out what readers would find the most interesting.
Yeah. I just looking through the table of contents here, it's funny. I just happened to I immediately my eyes caught Tom Bombadil, and I love that
Yeah.
there's a Tom Bombadil
Of
section,
course it did.
for
Of
one
course
thing.
it did
But,
for
like,
you.
you even have, yeah, just the new Shadow, like, all these things, and then there's other things that I think people won't be as familiar with. Like, so it seems like a good mixture of things that, you know, people would expect in a book that's talking about Tolkien, but then some things that might be a bit on the more unexpected side, like The Last Ring
Yeah.
Bearer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So this was the part of the book that I was really worried that people wouldn't necessarily understand, that it's not just a book about Tolkien's life, it's also his legacy, and it is what
mm,
people were inspired by to do and to make and to create because of him. And I wanted to really tap into that. So I talk about the music, I talk about the art, I talk about
yeah,
the Last Ring Bearer, which, for those of you that are maybe not as familiar with it, is a Soviet Russian era uh, fan fiction, what if style book that takes place from the perspective of some orcs. And then there's this quest for one of the Nazgul to, like, find and destroy the Mirror of Galadriel, and it's this sort of revisionist history where
Yeah.
Mordor is all about science and progress, and the elves are a bunch of imperialists, and the wizards are trying to take over, and it's a mess. And I say this having only read a little bit of it and the English translation, so maybe it's a little bit better we read it in its original Russian.
Yeah,
But
you
it
just
is
need to
just
learn Russian, and then you can read
yeah,
it in the original Russian.
yeah.
That's
How hard could that
next
be?
book, the
Truly,
next book that you do,
yeah.
you
Sure,
can
sure, sure,
read
sure.
learn Russian, yeah.
But
Uh,
I think it was one of those moments where I thought, all right, what are they going to let me get away with that I can include in this book that isn't
mhm,
about his life? Because there's so much interesting stuff out there about
yeah,
his life, but then also a bunch of other stuff that grew out of this elderly British
yeah,
gentleman.
right. Now, I'm gonna also bring in questions as they come, in the
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
for you
absolutely.
as well. So we've got one here from, Michael Kelly Poetry. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way, Michael. George MacDonald is often called the grandfather of modern fantasy. Does the book look at both MacDonald's influence on Tolkien and things Tolkien pushed back on, or is that a future book?
Oh, so I don't focus on George MacDonald in this particular book, though I am a little bit familiar with his works. I definitely brought out, though, Tolkien and what he was influenced by, which was a lot of the more Norse mythology, the very, the Celtic stuff, the Elder Edda, the sorry, I
I
just
have
read
to
Adams.
just because I've thought this before too, so I had to bring it up, and I was curious if it would distract you, and I
Thank you.
should have
No,
known
it's
that it would.
great. It's great.
Okay, yeah,
I
sorry,
always
back
joke
to George MacDonald.
sure. I always joke Lin-Manuel Miranda is my grandmother, so,
Yes.
that I appreciate someone bringing that up at least. No, but I wanted to sort of, hit on the influences that Tolkien brought to the table. So when you're reading The Lord of the Rings, it's not just brought full on from his imagination. He took a bunch of the names of the dwarves are in the Elder Edda that
Yeah,
he brought it from. A bunch of
and
I think
Gandalf, the
Gandalf's
name
yeah
of yeah,
Gandalf's name is
Gandalf's name.
also in there. So I think when it comes to creating languages, what was his influence there? When it came to a lot of his major characters, what was the inspiration he was bringing from in all of the Norse mythology, in Beowulf, in Dante's Inferno, all of these things that inspired him to sort of create this wonderful trilogy and the world of Middle Earth
Yeah.
that we love so much.
Now, speaking of, the world of Middle Earth, I like to ask people, and I usually start this off, but we just kinda jumped into it, which is great because that's what we do when we talk, we just jump into things.
Yeah.
How were you first introduced to Tolkien and Middle Earth?
Oh, this is a new one for most people. I don't have a typical Lord of the Rings origin story. My
Mm,
mom was actually reading the books, and she thought that I would really like them, but that they were a little bit more mature for me. There's, violence and sword fighting and all of that. And I had
mhm.
sort of read a little bit more of like the childish version of that, Chronicles of Narnia. I was a big fan of Del Toro's Quest, of Redwall by Brian Jakes, all of these sort of like children's literature fantasy um, worlds that I grew up with. And then my mom would read a chapter at a time. And then the next morning at the breakfast table, she would summarize what happened in that chapter to me and my sister at the breakfast table. And I just sort of fell in love with it to the
Mm,
point where like we would just it was the thing I anticipated most every morning. I would wake up and look forward to my mom telling me exactly what happened at the kitchen table. And then all of a sudden, as she's doing this in the midst of it, the movies are coming out. The Peter Jackson movies are
yeah,
coming out. And so I get to watch Fellowship of the Ring at home. I watched the first half
yeah,
with my mom, and I loved it. I fell in love with it, and I just never really stopped loving Tolkien in one form or another. I was obsessed with the movies growing up. I
yeah.
watched the behind the scenes probably more than any other movie. I probably watched the behind the scenes more than I watched the movies, if I'm being really
Yeah,
honest,
yeah.
because they
It's
were
like film
so
school. It's
it
like f
really
going
is,
to
and
film school. Yeah.
it scratched that itch in my brain that I wanted to, like, see how my favorite movies were made, and I loved
Mm,
the amount of effort that they put into it, and the fact that they were able to put so much effort into it and create such a beautiful story that was being told. It was like nothing else. It was like nothing else I'd
yeah.
ever seen before.
It's man, I whenever I think of the special features, the appendices of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I lament that that's kind of a lost, uh, relic. It's like a relic of a bygone era because of
Yeah.
the streaming. Like,
They don't do
studios
it
don't
anymore.
don't put resources into, like, DVD bonus features anymore, and I wish
Nope.
they did, and I really hope for, like, the future movie like Hunt for Gollum and future movies that they do, those full-blown behind the scenes because it's such a treasure trove, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does, like, it did for me as well, and I think what I'm hearing from you, like, it gives you an even greater appreciation of the source material even,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just
That's
the
why I love.
artistry,
Yeah.
of which is amazing in itself and an appreciation for the production, but also the world that they're adapting.
Yeah, and I think it was such an important part of, especially bringing it back to the book, I wanted to sort of show how Tolkien did the same thing, right? How much
Mhm.
effort he put into it, how much, design and, thought that he threw into these. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I think I say somewhere in the book that, C.S. Lewis, his friend C.S. Lewis, was writing, 7 different Chronicles of Narnia books over the span of a couple of years, and
Yeah.
then it took J.R.R. Tolkien 12 years to finish just a trilogy.
Yeah.
But you look at what came out of this trilogy, the music, the artwork, the, really weird fan fiction stuff that I hold special, like, it is just so much more than,
Mm.
just the one thing to so much other appreciation for the creation of putting into it, and I absolutely love it. So, for
Yeah.
any movie executives or budding movie executives, if you're watching this right now, if you're making an indie film, behind the scenes for how you made it, I want to watch it. I wanna watch how you made the thing, please.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and, yeah, the Narnia comparison and it happens so often because they're both fantasy, uh, you know, franchises or, series, and they're friends, and, like, they're writing them at the same time. Like, I love Narnia, full disclosure. I love Narnia, and, like, it's a delightful series of books, but there is, like, a depth to Tolkien that, like, you know, you can study the theology or like the ideas behind Narnia and stuff, sure, but like you can study it. I always say you can study Middle Earth as if it's real history to a certain extent,
You can. You
like which
absolutely
is
can.
just mind blowing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it for that
It's
reason.
wild to me. I think the wildest part to me was, just figuring out how much detail he put into the world
Hmm.
and figuring out the best ways to, like, craft the story. Because like, some of Tolkien's stuff is very much like, "And then this king, and then this king, and then he did this, and then this king, and then all of a sudden," but then you've got, like, the Kinstrife of Gondor,
Yeah.
or you've got, like, Haleth, this really,
Oh
incredible
yeah.
woman of the First Age, and just all of these wonderful brief moments within the legendarium that exist that create this fully fleshed out world that you just love to stay in.
Yeah.
I
Each
love
one
being
of those could be a book or series of books on their own. Is the crazy
exactly,
thing. Yeah.
exactly, like, you look
And they're
at.
footnotes.
Yeah.
Like,
Haleth could have her own trilogy.
yeah.
Turambar basically
Oh,
gets his own book.
yeah,
Tuor could have his own book. There's all of these, first age stories and second age stories that can and should get adapted. And I hope this book gets that across. I hope that there is, the idea that this man put so much time and so much effort into his world because there truly was nothing like it at
yeah.
the time that was modern. And I think that
Mhm.
why the title of the book works so well because he set the standard
Mhm.
for what came after. I
Yeah.
even talk about the Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
lawsuit with the Tolkien estate.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, there's so many things that are behemoths in pop culture themselves that were clearly inspired by Tolkien. Like they
Mhm.
all trace their roots back to Tolkien. D&D's one. You and I mean, I knew, like, going 20 minutes into this, it's kind of miraculous we made it this far without me bringing up Magic the Gathering since we've played it so much. But even that, obviously has inspiration taken from Tolkien. And I mean, I would hope we're gonna end up playing some Magic the Gathering: The Hobbit when it comes out next year, by the way.
Yes. Yes,
Total
we
aside,
absolutely are.
but
Absolutely.
so pumped. Oh my gosh, I'm so
Me too.
excited.
Me too. This is I love being able to go back. And
Mm,
I hope this book allows other people to go back because so often I have read so many different versions of or approaches to Tolkien, whether that's from a literary standpoint, from a language comprehension standpoint, if I'm
mm,
trying to, learn Elvish, any number of things that Tolkien really just threw his heart into to create this world. And I really hope that the book is yet another stepping stone for people. I'm very much I feel like my content, especially on TikTok and this book can be a stepping stone for people to just say, "Hey, I really liked those Lord of the Rings movies.
yeah,
What if I read this book about the author and then yeah, sure, I'll give the books a try, or I'll
yeah.
rewatch the trilogy, or I'll,
Or read
check out
Children of Hurin.
yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe I'll even check out that Nerd of the Rings guy on
Hey,
YouTube."
there you go. I did really like that there's also a section for Children of Hurin because I adore that book.
I
It's
had
so
to include it
it's so
because
dark, but it's
so many
so
people
good.
don't know about it though, and that was what I wanted to bring to the table
Yeah.
with this, especially because, how many different aspects of Tolkien's life can you get in 100 short stories?
Mhm.
I'd have to go through every letter and, like, dissect them and, not everybody's as interested in the letters, but they are using a lot of that's mostly my primary sources, but, like,
Mm.
I wanted to bring in, l had you ever heard of Leaf by Niggle? And if you haven't, maybe you'll
Yeah.
enjoy it. Did you ever hear of,
Right.
Farmer Giles of Ham? And
Yeah.
there are all of these, very just, like, not I don't wanna say random, but there's all of these other things that Tolkien
Yeah.
did that should be
Father
celebrated.
Christmas letters is one that
I
I
include that as well,
always I
yeah.
always love that, like, and that all it is just him writing letters from Father Christmas to his kids and, like,
Yeah,
reading through that, but I did a whole video on this last year around this time of year,
yeah,
um, but it's remarkable, like, this guy is just bursting with creativity to the point where, like, you have goblin wars at the North Pole and stuff, like,
love that
it's
so
so
much.
good.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where I want people to learn more about that. I want
Yeah.
people to learn that, like, towards the end of those letters, it's all fun and jovial for the first few, and then World War II happens. And
Mm,
then all of a sudden, Tolkien needs to take a very sharp left turn to say, "Hey, I know things are really bad right now, but it's still Christmas time. I'm still jolly old Saint Nick," and his writing style changes. And, like,
yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on in his head and how to approach that to describe it in a book is
Mhm.
one of those, like, just it's almost a little bit heartbreaking to me just to kind of look at, what was happening during that time in reality and him trying to basically comfort his kids during the holidays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because it's wild. Like, I mean, he himself was in World War One, and
Yeah.
then World War
His son
Two. Like
Christopher
his
is
son
in World War II.
Christopher's in World War Two as a pilot. Yeah,
Yeah.
just wild. Now you are the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy.
Thank you.
What's your
It's
favorite? What's your
oh,
favorite obscure fact?
oh god.
I know.
Oh, man.
Or do you have a favorite one that's in this book? Maybe that's the way to
It
frame it.
in this book, I think I think the thing that people are gonna find the most obscure is that there was almost a sequel with The New Shadow. It's
Mm,
not
yeah.
as widely known, and I think had he actually written it, there would have been, uh, a very different view on Tolkien. As some people know, there are definitely a lot of people who are perhaps sullying their legacy by publishing books many years later or attempting to go
Mm,
back to a
gotcha.
world and maybe not catching the same fire because it's not a product of its time. And I
Like
think
going back to the same well too many times kinda thing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
a little bit,
yeah.
and I think for me, though, my favorite, fact, just circling way back, is Tevildo, the
Oh, yeah.
talking cat from Baron and Luthien, who I mention
Yeah,
in here, a little bit, just in passing because it leads to the creation of Sauron. In my
yeah,
mind, the talking cat Tevildo, I can spoil this, it's 1 entry,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
yeah. So Tevildo, for those that maybe haven't read the deep obscure lore, there is a characters named Baron and Luthien. They go on a quest to try and get a sacred jewel, and they're captured by a talking cat, the Prince of Cats, named Tevildo.
yeah,
Tevildo captures them, but Tevildo is eventually thrown out as a character and eventually gets rewritten into a guy named Thu. Thu stays there for a while, and that doesn't really stick. And then Thu becomes the necromancer, and then the necromancer is there in the Hobbit, and then eventually becomes Sauron. And there's just this sort of umbrella catch-all of like this transition from one to another, and
yeah,
watching J.R.R. Tolkien get his mind sort of situated in a way that says, all right, this is the story I now want to tell. We're not in a
mm,
world of talking cats where you can get taken captive by them, but we are in a world where there is still that evil. There is still that
yeah.
yeah, there are still, of course, talking animals in Middle Earth, but none of
Right,
them are
yeah,
talking cats, which
yeah. I no, I love, the, History of Middle Earth series is
oh
obviously amazing, and then, Baron and Luthien, Fall of Gondola, like, seeing the way that the world developed and the
yeah.
changes that he made, like, when he makes a decision, or you can even see in some of those old versions, you're like, "Oh," even looking at Tevildo, you can see parts of that character, you know, or earlier drafts of other characters where it's like, "Oh, I can see where this is that same character, they just,
Mhm.
changed over time."
100%. Yeah, there's through lines of the various
Mhm.
characters, which are not to be confused with the through lines of the various other characters that their names show up a couple of other times.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the book. We've got there's 2 different versions of Legolas.
Oh, yeah.
There's another version of Gimli who is actually in the Baron and Luthien story.
Mm.
He's a first age dwarf. And then, of course, we've got Glorfindel who stays the same and,
Yep.
comes back. And there's that whole discussion about elvish reincarnation. And there's so much to discuss within Tolkien's world. It's like I truly wasn't even really sure where to start and what to include. And I
Yeah.
had to really pick and choose what was the most important when it came to his life and his
Mm.
legacy rather than, oh, this is the Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah. So how did you start with a list? I'm curious, like, practically speaking, getting into the nuts and bolts of your writing process here.
Yeah.
Did you did it kind of make you start with a table of contents almost?
Yes, I started with a
Okay.
table of contents. I had to figure out what I was going to do. Don't tell my editor this, but I didn't finish the table of contents before I started writing. There were a couple of entries that I knew I wanted to write about, and I just wanted to um, get started a little bit and figure out
Mm,
what my writing style was, how I was going to try and craft it. And so I started with a couple of entries, and then I went, okay, if this is going to be my writing style, how does that translate into what I'm gonna cover. So, do I wanna cover the entirety of World War One in one entry,
mm,
or do I wanna spend 6 entries on his World War One
right.
experience? We decided to go for, a smattering here and there of some World War One stuff. There's a couple of entries. Although I will say, just a brief aside, if I may, very proud of myself for this one because one of the entries is called, "Somewhere in France Covered in Mud." And
Mm.
my editor asked if that was a quote from Tolkien or if I had made that up, and I just felt so proud of myself for making something that was good enough to basically say, "Did Tolkien write that?" I'm like, "No, no, that was me."
Nice. That's
Yeah.
always a nice compliment to have.
Yeah, yeah, I loved that one. So being able to sort of go through and pick and choose what I wanted to create, was really important to me. I wanted to make sure that I told the right stories. I wanted to make sure that I got the point across that this was, a real man. He wasn't
Mhm.
this, famed author that was put on a pedestal and can do no wrong. No, he made mistakes. He wasn't, this all powerful person that never did any wrong. He very much was a human, just like the rest of us, and I wanted to get that across.
Well, and one of the things that I always appreciate about Tolkien is that, he himself would tell you that he is a
Yeah.
fallible human, like
Yes,
that's
very much so.
yeah. Now what do you have a favorite of these, as
God,
we're looking through all these
I have a
chapter
couple.
headings. Like I said, there's a lot. I don't know exactly how many chapters you've got here. There's a lot.
So I've got 100 total, and
100
they
total.
are
Okay.
yes, 100 total,
You
and
have
they
one on
are
Tolkien memes even.
I do. So that was part of what I wanted to get across about the legacy that he left, right? So we talk so much about, the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and the wonderful art that people make and the wonderful, music that people are inspired to create, but like sometimes just like Tolkien, it can be very silly. And
Mhm.
Tolkien memes are one of those things that have stood the test of time, in large part thanks to Peter Jackson's movies. I,
Yeah.
I give a lot of credit to the screenshots and internet culture, especially there, because without that, I truly don't think Tolkien's legacy is as impactful as it is because he is such a staple of
Mm.
online culture. I think I don't know if you feel the same way, but like I feel as though I owe a great deal of my success to the fact that Tolkien is still so popular and he's popular
Yeah.
on the internet. There's any number of subreddits or, our friends at the onering.net keeping that all alive.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
No,
yeah, and I wanted
absolutely.
to bring that, to the forefront, and I found that the best way to do that was just to discuss, online culture embracing, Tolkien. I talk about the Lord of the Rings online game and, a
Mhm.
good buddy of mine named Bloodborne, who's one of the, premier, Lord of the Rings online streamers and has been for many years, just absolutely keeping the legacy of this man alive in so many different forms.
Yeah. And it's really remarkable when you think about the fact that this world is now pushing 100 years old.
Mhm.
And how
Mhm.
many series, how many fandoms that are 100 years old are still as, like, passionately talked about and as popular in current day? You think
Yeah.
of, like, the behemoths of franchises. You think, like, Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's not even 50 yet. It's not
Nope.
even half as old as Lord of the
Getting
Rings,
there,
as
and I wish the
Tolkien.
Star Wars fandom the best as I've got lightsabers behind me
You do
as
have lightsabers.
yeah, got a
Yeah.
bunch of lightsabers behind me. That's
See the Cal
Aragorn's
Kestis? Yeah.
yeah, oh, the Calcat that one's really heavy too. I got
It is.
amazing
I
got a
I have it as well, yeah.
That's
I
also,
really like it.
for those keeping an eye out, that is Aragorn's, Anduril as a lightsaber,
Oh,
behind me.
I
So
have I
it's
have one, it looks a little different, but I have one over here as well, actually.
do should we both be getting our lightsabers eventually,
Well,
or
I was gonna say mine will I'm sure mine is not charged, so it
oh,
will
oh,
not
you know
light
what?
up.
That's a really good point. I don't think mine is either.
I was gonna say I don't charge it very often. It's not one of those that like I go sometimes my kids and I will go outside and like after it gets dark out and have
And play
lightsaber
with the
battles.
lightsabers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we'll have
yeah,
lightsaber battles outside. That's not one that I do that with because I'm a little more scared that
yeah,
it's got like the thin like blade, like the
yeah.
blade looking thing, and so I'm
Mhm.
very nervous about it breaking, so we don't do it with that one. But yeah, no, I do appreciate and I also like the Helm Hammer
Yes,
hands
popcorn bucket.
popcorn bucket. I've also got that back here in the
It's
background.
so
Yeah.
fun to eat out of, Matt. It is just, like, the most fun thing to do. I'll
Do you
sit
so
there
you actually eat popcorn out of it? See,
yeah, of
because
course I
okay,
do. I
I
gotta put it to
didn't.
good use.
When they gave it to me, they gave it to me. Okay, so I know we're off on a tangent. That's
No,
okay. We knew
please,
this
this
was
is what
gonna
we do.
happen. We
This
knew
is
this
what
was
we
gonna
do.
happen. The theater gave it to me in the box. Like, it wasn't even,
Oh,
like, assembled. So, like, I went ahead and assembled it for the screen because I was like, "I'm gonna carry around this big hammer while I'm watching
yeah.
this movie."
Yeah.
But I was, and then they just gave you a regular popcorn bucket, and I was like, "Oh, well, don't you put it in the popcorn bucket?" Nowadays, so many of these popcorn buckets don't even,
Mhm.
like, really hold much popcorn, and they just give you a
Mm.
big plastic thing. At least the hammer
Yeah.
will
It's
actually properly hold popcorn.
yeah, and, you know, I can do some damage with that against something light and papery
Something
maybe, and
light, yeah.
yeah, you know, nothing crazy, but, you know, get me a
Right.
tennis ball or something, I can send it over the fence for
There you
sure.
go. Yeah, it looks like those mallets, it's that one game with the balls and the metal things that you stick on the ground. What is that?
Whack.
It's
Oh,
not cricket.
croquet. Croquet mallets.
Croquet. That's the one.
There we
That's the
go.
one. Yep. You can play croquet with it. There we go. Tangent. Love it.
Now I'm just thinking about you and I somehow at some con or something
Mm,
getting to play croquet with those. I think we should
with
do that.
the helm hammer hand
Yeah.
hammers. There we
Maybe
go.
that's what you do next time you're out in your backyard. Instead of a lightsaber fight, you're just playing croquet with your kids.
Yeah, there you go. Or yeah. I like the idea. I really want someone to make golf balls that have like a little orc head on them so it could be Golfing Bull from the Bull Roar Took. I think that would be,
Deep cut.
I
Deep
don't know if
cut,
we
Matt.
need, I don't know what the Venn diagram of golfers and Lord of the Rings fans is, but like, and I don't play golf, but I would be cool enough that I'd probably get some.
I mean, there's gotta
And
be
then
some overlap there at
I
least.
wouldn't
I
play with
dabble.
them because I would totally lose them because I'm very bad at golf the few times that I've played. I know that.
Yeah, you'd never wanna lose it. It's
You
like
could
if
use
you
it
lose it, it's
putt-putt.
like,
You could use it for putt-putt.
"Oh, okay, yeah,
Bring
well,
your
you
own
know what?
ball to putt-putt. It's a little
Next time
orc.
we're at San Diego Comic-Con together, we'll get some of those custom made, and we'll find some sort of mini golf place. I'm sure
There
we'll
we
be
go.
able to find something.
There we go. There we go.
Amazing. Anyway, we were talking about a book
Yes.
I wrote, and then we
Yeah, we were. Yeah. I got myself totally off track here,
It's fine.
but
This
that's
is
what we
for
do.
those that have maybe not seen Matt and I interact previously, this is more or less how our
This is
conversations
more or
go, and I
less how it
love it.
goes. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned, some of the things that you think people, you know, I wouldn't even say more casual fans, but folks that haven't necessarily delved to the deepest depths of Tolkien,
Yes, yes.
um, would be surprised by. What are
Mhm.
some of the things over the years as you've interacted with fans at like
Mm.
conventions and stuff that you found people are most surprised by when it comes to either Tolkien the man or his world and any of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I think the most im the thing that I think most comes to mind is the level of depth. I
Mm,
think people know that The Lord of the Rings is a good trilogy and that there's a lot of backstory, but they don't actually know the backstory itself. They don't know
yeah,
the level of work that he put into crafting the things that happened in the first age or crafting the, stuff that happened in the second age, the island of Numenor, all of the
yeah,
first stage battles um, between Morgoth and the elves. And like the if you look at things like the Silmarillion, Book of Unfinished Tales, the Peoples or History of Middle Earth. I mean, just Peoples of Middle Earth is a
mhm,
trying to read that is absolutely insane. But the the whole Histories of Middle Earth volume series is wild, and just telling people how much further he went
mm,
than
yeah,
just this trilogy, I think amazes people the most and catches them so off guard because, sure, Aragorn has a dad, Aragorn has a mom. We all know this. Everybody
right,
has a dad and a mom. That's how human life works. But, like, do you know their backstory? Do you know that
yeah,
he was fostered by Elrond and the fake names that he got? Because Aragorn's got a couple of fake names. And there's so much thought. I think it's the thing that people don't realize is how much extra effort
mm,
Tolkien put into his world. And I think your channel is a testament to that, right? All
yeah,
of the stuff that
absolutely,
he didn't that he didn't include that got added later, whether that's
Yeah.
the Silmarillion
Or
or in
that's
future
hinted
tales.
at. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like
Yeah.
Feanor gets mentioned in
Right.
Return of the King once
Yeah.
when we're talking about the Palantirs and between Pippin and Gandalf, and then he's never mentioned again. Like
Right.
what exactly was the point of that? Did we need
Yeah.
to mention an elf named Feanor? Of course not. But is it hinting at something else so much greater? Absolutely. And then when you're able to sort of
Mm.
show people that world that he made and expand upon it and make it understandable, that is where I see like the glint in their eyes open up to being like, oh, this thing that I love has so much more to offer. I wonder
Yeah.
where I could get more information.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's wild the number of times I am always blown away when I put myself in the mindset of someone who, like, read The Lord of the Rings as it came out, and you
Oh.
get like you said, these things like a name drop of Feanor, or, like, when they're passing through Holland, and it's like, "Yeah, this was a
Mhm.
region
Mhm.
where the rings were made," and it's like, "Okay,
What?
you wanna tell
Please
me any
provide
more
us more
about that?"
detail. Yeah.
Right, and it's like, "Nope, that's all you're getting for now," and then it's like,
That's it.
yeah, so 30 years later, Christopher would publish this, and then you'd know all this backstory,
Yeah,
and
we
it
owe
just
so much to
it blows
Christopher.
my mind. Oh my gosh, yes, like, he is, and that's one thing that I always try to say to, the more casual fans is like,
Mhm.
when we say the world that Tolkien created, it's like, in a
Yes,
way,
but
it's Tolkien, but it's also Christopher Tolkien. Like, it's
Mhm.
J.R.R. and Christopher together because it was too epic of a work for just one lifetime, it turns out. It was
It truly
2
was.
full lifetimes, to get all this stuff out to fans to where we could enjoy it, because it's just incredible the amount of stuff that Christopher published. It's like I always see, speaking of Tolkien memes, I see the meme of like the iceberg where it has Hobbit and Lord of the Rings
Yes,
up
yes.
top, and then there's like all history, Middle Earth, Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales. Everything else that Christopher did is like this huge chunk of iceberg underneath the water.
Yeah, yeah. It's truly one of those, worlds that, we don't call it a universe, we call it a legendarium because it
Hmm.
created this, this history from the
Yeah,
beginning of time to, I mean, Tolkien, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said that we were in something like the seventh age. If this was a history
yeah,
for
I think
Britain, then
so.
we were in the seventh age of some in some way. So
Yeah,
I don't know how accurate that would be, uh, in terms of like, are we in the eighth age now?
right.
Now that he has since passed and like technology has developed and like
I know. I feel like we're barreling through ages quite quickly
yeah.
now. Like I'm
The
like I
90s themselves were the
I'm
eighth
like
age,
I
the
was gonna
early
say
2000s.
I'm old enough that, like, Oregon Trail was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Like, you know,
Oh
we're
my
I was shooting duck hunt and thinking, "This is
god.
peak, man." And
And
now I'm
now
like,
look at
I feel
us.
like I feel like there's been at least 2 ages pass in my lifetime. Uh,
Are we in the 10th age? Is
I
that what's
think we might
happening?
we might be. We might
Oh
be.
man.
So we had a question which I did as I was looking through. Someone was asking, oh gosh, because I saw you have a section that answered this person's question, asking if you talked about Tolkien's faith and how that shaped his
Yes.
work. You have
Yes,
you
I
have one
did.
on Tolkien and Catholicism in there. I
I
noticed.
do, yeah, yeah. I didn't focus as much on the religious side of things, but I
Hmm.
do mention that it is, there's that very famous quote. It's a predominantly Catholic work, that the
Right.
letter that
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wrote to the priest, and I think it plays such an integral role, especially in his early years growing up. Just the amount of loss that
Mm,
Tolkien went through to go through that as a young child and then a young man, because you
right.
gotta remember by the time he's 20, 21, most of his friends are dead, right? You've got
Yeah.
Christopher Wiseman, the only remaining
Hmm.
member of the TCBS, his club, that he had in school, and then he watched, people die at the Battle of the Somme and just
Mhm.
truly losing all of these people. I think his faith played such an important role in that. And being able to sort of touch on that, even briefly, was
Yeah.
important because it is a part of him. And I
Yeah.
wanted to get to his faith early on in the book because had I mentioned it later in the book, it might not have come through. Uh,
In
and
subsequent
Yeah, in
yeah,
subsequent
thanks.
chapters,
Yeah.
because you always have to look at in my mind, you always have to look at Tolkien through the lens of the author, and the author was very devout Roman Catholic, and that is
Yeah.
going to play a role, and, he has the monotheistic god of Eru Ilúvatar. He's got his
Yeah.
pantheon of angels in the Valar and
The Valar,
the
yeah.
Ainur and all of them, and
Yeah.
just being able to craft a story like that and know that the type of person that he was religiously, I think you absolutely have to connect the dots there.
Oh, absolutely. And, you talking about the amount of loss that he,
Yeah.
experienced, from his parents at a young age, and then, as you mentioned, all his friends in World War One. And then, I always think as a dad, I always think, to him then seeing his son go off to World War II after,
Yeah.
like, he just fought in World War One. It was supposed to be like the war to end all wars kinda thing, and then we're
Mhm.
doing another one, and now
Yeah.
my son is going to I can't even imagine the ways that this guy was tested, like, emotionally and spiritually and, just from life, like, the
Yeah.
tough things in life, like, it's just it's wild. It's unimaginable, the stuff that
He's been
he
through it.
went through.
Tolkien
Yeah.
has been
Yeah.
through it. He's been through the ringer. He knows all about love and loss and being
Mhm.
able to navigate that world. I mean, he's an he I look up to him, right? Like he is very much a role model of mine. But
Yeah.
I'm not particularly religious, but I think the way that he was able to sort of craft his stories and what was important to him
Mm.
were so important to me growing
Yeah.
up reading these books. Yeah.
And to do, like, just a total 180 here
Please, let's do it.
because, people like, any here's the thing with fandoms that I've always thought is, like, we get in very spirited debates, and we feel
Mhm.
very strongly about things like adaptations and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and, like, that's a sign of passion, I think,
Yes.
to a certain extent. Like, obviously, people can always, like, push things too far, do things in bad faith and stuff like that.
Sure.
Not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, genuine fandom and, like, we get passionate about arguing about things. Um, a couple things. First, quick question. Do
Yeah.
you address whether Balrogs have wings
Yes, I
in
do.
this book? You do. Okay.
Yes, I do. I
I'm gonna
well,
check
I
that out.
clarify something. I
Mm,
clarify something in that
okay.
it is the way it is described, I describe both ways, and then
Uh-huh.
within the Dungeons& and Dragons and Lawsuits, entry, I mention that the, big fire demons found in, Dungeons& and Dragons, are called Balors. Balors
Yes.
within
I didn't know
D&D
that, by the way.
do have wings. And,
Okay.
they, I think, took a little creative liberty in the, interpretation of Balrogs from
Mm,
J.R.R. Tolkien and, made it their own and gave them wings. But yes, I do address
man,
the many questions about that.
if I could find a legal, like, document where, like, D&D argued that Balrogs don't have wings and they're what did you say they're called in D&D?
Balors.
Balors, and the Balors do have wings? Like, that would just be icing on the cake for people like me who argue that Balrogs don't have wings.
You know
I would
what?
just love that.
I'm sure between you and I, we can ask the internet to try and find it with us. You
Right?
make a video, I'll make a
Oh,
video, we'll
like,
figure it
I
out.
want that court document so that I could say,
Yeah.
"Guys, even in court, like, you're asking, like, will it hold up in court? This has literally been to court." Um, the other thing I love, like, when people say, like, "Such and such is just the worst adaptation ever," like, whatever it is, we're not even gonna get into it here. like
Mhm.
whatever comes to your mind. I
Mhm.
guarantee whatever comes to your mind that's actually been made as an adaptation cannot be worse than the Borman script.
Oh,
And you
the
have
Borman.
a section on the Borman script in
Yeah,
here.
I do.
Where
I could
what was your familiarity with it before going into this book?
I'll tell you, because you, and I both know the person that introduced it. Lovely gentleman from theonering.net by the name of Clifford Broadway. Clifford, is the person that introduced me to what the Borman script is,
Oh,
and for
yeah.
those that are maybe not aware, the Borman, script for the adaptation of The Lord of the Rings is, um how do I put this politely, knowing that we are live? Um, the John Borman, script is wild in that it takes so many creative liberties. It is almost beyond recognizable, but
Mhm.
in such a way that it makes it fun, or it loops back around and it's funny to describe, and, like, you almost kind of want to see it made because it's just that bizarre.
I'm not gonna go that far with you on that one, though. Oh my goodness.
May we have differing opinions on that, but no,
I
it's wild.
there's there okay. So, um, I will say one of the things is, let's again, like, being careful how I phrase this, intimacy between Frodo and Galadriel is
Mhm,
one of the things.
mhm.
Um,
Mention
and
that.
if that doesn't tell you enough about what this adaptation is about, then I don't know what will. Like, it's, oh lordy. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
do
it's
a full-blown video on that someday, but
please do. Oh
I
my
have
god,
very
please
strong
do, that would be
feelings about
amazing.
and it does, if I'm not wrong, because there's a couple adaptations, and I love when Tolkien gives feedback in his letters
Oh,
on
yes.
adaptations. Like,
Mhm.
there are some where it's like, you know and I always argue people, kind of think that Tolkien would be super strict on his adaptations, where in his letters, he actually like, there's one where they're talking about trimming it to a single film,
Mhm.
and he outright recommends like, "Oh, well, we should cut Helm's Deep," like, remove
Mm,
Helm's
mhm,
Deep totally. So it like
mhm.
which, of course, we have had a masterpiece of a trilogy made, and so cutting Helm's Deep, one of the greatest battles in cinema history, sounds like sacrilege,
Yeah, it's
But
exactly, I was about to
yeah,
say the same
but
thing, it's sacrilege, how could you?
yeah, right. But like, so clearly he was not like everything has to be exactly as it is in the book. Yeah, we need one for one.
Right.
But that
Mhm.
being said, there are some quotes of his, like when he's reacting to a script or a story treatment or something that are I scathing is feels like too generous of a word at
It
times.
is. It absolutely is. He is almost downright hateful. I think, one that comes to mind is the Zimmerman
Yeah.
adaptation that almost got made. I
Mhm.
I think at a certain point, they were gonna make Radagast into an eagle and have him come to
Mm.
the Shire and change a couple of things up, and Tolkien's like, "No, absolutely not. This
Yeah.
never happened. How dare you? This isn't what I wanted."
I can't remember which one it is that where he says the thing about the canons of narrative cannot be wholly different from the original thing. Like, it's such a great quote. I should
Yeah, yeah.
commit it to memory. But yeah, Tolkien's letters is one of my favorite things to dive into as
Oh,
well.
same, same. They're I mean,
Yeah.
they're found a lot of them was what I used as primary sources for the
Yeah.
book because I didn't and circling back to the book, I didn't want to necessarily use the Humphrey Carpenter,
Mhm.
biography because that already exists. It is doing its own thing. I'm very
Right.
grateful that it exists. I do quote it, I wanna say, like, 4 or 5 times maybe, but a
Yeah.
majority of my primary sources for this were, the letters or other correspondences that he had, um, throughout his life because I wanted to get the words straight from his mouth and just he's so good at describing things. It almost felt like, "Oh, well, I don't really need to say it in 50 words when he can
Mm.
say it in 20."
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what sorry, I'm still flipping through like cuz like I said, it's very fun to just like to just flip to a random page and then see
Yeah.
what's on that page.
What do you wanna
Um
oh my god, I page 181, I opened up to the Zimmerman and Borman one. You
oh,
want me
there
to
you
read it?
go.
Would you like me to read this?
Oh, yeah, is this an excerpt?
Yes, this
Official
is an
excerpt?
excerpt. Page
So this is like
181.
okay, alright, go for it.
Zimmerman and Borman. Adapting a book into a movie is a tricky thing. Hundreds of pages of dialogue, description, and internal thought processes have to be condensed into a visual medium, and some aspects always get lost. J.R.R. Tolkien famously did not like people adapting his works. His first experience with adaptation did not go well. Writing to his son Christopher and daughter in law Faith in 1957, he described a visit by an American film agent named Forrest J. Ackerman. Tolkien and his publisher made the terms for any Middle Earth film very clear: art or cash, either very profitable terms indeed, or absolute author's veto on objectionable features or alterations. End quote. The chance at a first ever Lord of the Rings film script was given to Morton Grady Zimmerman, but the screenplay never made it to the silver screen. Tolkien wasn't happy with the changes Zimmerman made. One such change had an eagle named Radagast show up in the Shire. Another gave the humanoid orcs beaks and feathers. Tolkien was not pleased. Quote, I feel very unhappy about the extreme silliness and incompetence of Z, meaning Zimmerman, and his complete lack of respect for the original. While Zimmerman's screenplay was the first, the John Borman script is perhaps the most infamous. His 1970 screenplay of The Lord of the Rings is somewhat more bizarre look at Professor Tolkien's work. Aside from the attempting to adapt the entire trilogy into one 3-hour film, the characters behave remarkably out of character. Arwen appears as a kind of spirit or ghost to point the Fellowship in the right direction. Boromir kisses Galadriel, quote, with a flush of passion, but she rejects him and kisses Frodo in the very next scene. That it's then alluded to that she and Frodo spent the night together. As one scene early in the script described, I forgot I included this. Quote, suddenly they are in a field of buttercups. Naked children run and play among the golden flowers. The hobbits blink and grin, and Mary belches, end quote. Yet, according to a 2012 interview with Borman, it wasn't the script that kept the film from making it to the silver screen, but rather the budget. United Artists held the rights to the movie adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, but had run out of money to fund the project. It was ultimately abandoned. Would-be director Borman later said he was actually glad his adaptation didn't get made because it would mean that the Pete Jackson Fantastic Trilogy would not have been made.
Which is my thoughts exactly as you were reading that. I was like, could you imagine if that came
No.
out, people would be like, this is the worst thing ever. Like they would just it would turn Hollywood off of making them for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
decades upon decades.
I cannot
Oh my
imagine a
gosh.
world where Peter Jackson gets to make his movie if that
Mhm.
has already come out. The animated
Right.
ones, sure. But the Borman one, no. No
No,
chance.
not so
No
much.
chance.
Not so much. Speaking of
So that's my
adaptations,
book.
so which is your favorite out of all of like is it the Peter
Oh gosh.
Jackson
It's
movies? Is it
yeah,
do you have a soft
it's
spot for the
definitely the
animated?
Peter. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the Peter Jackson trilogy, but I think
Yeah.
if we're going to other adaptations, I think the Hobbit one is so good, but they
I
leave out
love the Hobbit
Beorn.
one.
I I
Yeah,
I
that's
just
true.
recently
Yeah.
rewatched it. I was very sad they leave out the Arkenstone
Yeah.
and Beorn. Because
Mhm.
I no joke, I forgot that it wasn't in there. I'm like,
I know,
"Where
yeah.
where's
You
the
just think of
where is
them
it?"
as being pieces of the story. You don't
Right,
even yeah.
right. And it
I love Mutton Chop, Smaug too.
yeah,
He's got, like, these
the
mutton
little
chop
the little
yeah.
cat version where he's got the
Yeah.
whiskers and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's so very iconic. I also love, that version of Thranduil is one of the
Mm.
funniest
Yes, he's
things I've seen. Well, because we didn't
green
know his
skin and
name.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's got all the long legs and misshapen, out of
Yeah.
proportion body parts.
And then they show,
It's
like
wild.
Elrond's, like, normal. Like,
Yeah,
he's like a
it's a
normal
very
elf dude,
different
and
kind
then
of
they're
elf.
like, these woodland elves, man, there's something
They're
in the
not it.
water. Yeah.
Their legs are too long. This is very different.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, how about you? Do you have a favorite adaptation?
I do really like the animated I mean, my favorite is the Peter Jackson trilogy. That's how
Yeah,
I got introduced to the world. So that I think that'll always be number 1. It's gonna be very hard for anyone to ever top that.
yeah.
Um, in film in general, I
Oh,
will
for
say,
sure.
not just like Lord of the Rings adaptations, but just for my money, it's the greatest trilogy ever made.
Oh,
Um,
100% agree. 100% agree.
yeah, I mean, it's like we're preaching to the choir here, but
Yeah.
um,
A bunch
yeah,
of Lord of the Rings fans watching
right.
this.
I do, I do think like The Hobbit animated has
Mhm.
like this nice level of charm to it.
Yeah.
Um, that I could never get into like the first half of Rankin Bass or not Rankin Bass, Ralph Bakshi. I'm like,
Mhm.
I really like it. I love I have a nostalgia for the rotoscoping
Ye
technique. Um,
Yeah.
because of some of the movies I remember watching like as a young kid that were
Mhm.
fairly fairly old when I was a young kid even, and they had rotoscoping, and I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is so crazy looking." There's just
Yeah,
something psychedelic to that technique of
there
filmmaking.
was.
Um,
And it was really
yeah,
ahead of its time when you think about it, because what do
yeah.
people do now in the Marvel movies, right? They're a body, they're wearing, Mark Ruffalo's
Yeah,
wearing a green suit, and you just sorta digitally paint
yeah,
rather than, somehow,
right.
draw it on.
After the fact.
It's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
still
and
all
it
coming in post. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It feels as though if the technology was there in oh god, when was it made? 78? If it was
78, I think.
yeah, I think it's
I
70.
think it was
If the technology was
77
there
for
in
The
this
Hobbit and 78 for Lord of the Rings, I think.
I think if the technology is there in that time period, you
Mhm.
have a very different adaptation to be like,
Yeah,
"Hey, look at all what we can do with just a couple of people acting it out and then
yeah,
rotoscoping it in later." So,
right.
yeah.
It is crazy that the animated Hobbit came out the same year as Star Wars. That always blows my mind.
Wow!
1977.
Yeah. Huh.
And then
I never thought about it like that.
you fast forward, and then you're getting prequel trilogy and the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
movies at the same time, and Harry
Oh,
Potter was
wow.
starting then. How
Wow.
crazy is that? I just
That's
saw
how
a
old, right?
post the other day where it was like Sorcerer's Stone and Fellowship of the Ring came out in the same year. I'm like, "That's wild."
Whoa. Yeah, they
November
did, didn't
November,
they?
December, back to back too. November and
Oh,
December. Like, man,
what a good 2 months for movies.
right? What a good
Goodness.
yeah, no kidding. All right,
Oh.
so, as we're winding down here, what do you hope that we've talked a bit about this already, but, we touched on it at least. What do you hope, people take away from your new book? If they pick it up, dive into it, what recommendations do you have for readers? What do you hope to see them get out of it?
Oh, man. My recommendation for reading the book is please take your time with it. I want you to go on these little short snippets and then immediately go to the internet and find out way more about it, because I could only encompass it in very small little essays, and it felt like I wanted to include so much more.
Mm,
Um, once it was done, and given the opportunity, I would love to go back and maybe do like an 80,000 word version of this just to include another 100
yeah,
more. But there's so much, I think, in the book that will lead to people finding out more stuff about J.R.R. Tolkien, or more stuff about the Lord of the Rings. And go read my write up on Leaf by Niggle, and then go
mm,
read Leaf by Niggle, or go read Roverandom, and then go hug your dog if you've got one. 'Cause it's such a beautiful story, and it makes you love your animals. And it just I really wanted to highlight a lot of the things that don't get brought up as much, the more minor mentioned
mm,
things. And I hope people finish this book and say, I know J.R.R. Tolkien way more. I can appreciate the Lord of the Rings way more. Maybe read the trilogy after it. Maybe go rewatch the Peter Jackson trilogy, or the Hobbit trilogy, or Rings of Power, or any of the animated stuff. Whatever fits your fancy. I do not judge. This is all just, the Tolkien fandom has been so rich and
yeah,
vibrant for the last, as you were saying, 50 to 100 years, and it feels like we're in this sort of renaissance of new Tolkien stuff coming out in the last few years with the books that have come out and
Yeah.
the new TV show and just potentially new movies. We're going to get The Hunt for Gollum, so I'm
Right.
so curious to see where this leads, and I hope you can read this book and have it be a part of your Tolkien collection, even if it's a little bit of a shorter read than most other scholarly Tolkien things. I write to like a sixth grade level, so you'll be done this in a few hours. The audiobook's like 5 or 6 hours long. You're going to be fine.
Oh, speaking of audiobook, how was that
Yeah.
experience?
Oh my God.
I assume this
Wild.
is your first audiobook
First time doing,
recording.
yes,
Yeah.
first time doing audiobook recording, but not my first time, doing, voiceover stuff. For those
Yeah.
that maybe are seeing me for the first time, I say it constantly. I used to be a journalist, and I really was able to, like, train myself to do these minute-and-a-half long stories about,
Yeah.
whatever was going on and get in the booth, do my thing into the microphone like I'm doing right now, and be done in a minute and a half. And that was great. Or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, however
Yeah.
long it took me. But to be in the booth for 4 hours at a time, to sort of sit there and go, oh, I got to read one page after another, after another, after another. And then if I mispronounce something, or the best part, oh my gosh, I ate lunch one time right before I started recording. And I guess whatever I ate made my stomach grumble so much that they had to stop me every couple of minutes. They're like, hey, you got to do that again.
Your
I heard
stomach
your
was
stomach. And I'm like,
oh my
I'm
gosh.
so sorry. This is beyond embarrassing. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, this is a whole industry. And I'm just able to do it, um, to just sort of hop in because my skills from my journalism career transferred over so well. And I felt so incredibly blessed to be able to just hop from one to another.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very grateful.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like, yeah, your book is a nice, kind of acceleration for folks who, are maybe kind of curious, like dipping their toes into
Yes, yes, very
getting
much.
further in, going deeper into this world, and this will, I see this, and this is just my, my read on it, but like I could see people getting a lot of small doses of different ways that you can dive deeper into this world and
Yeah.
get a feel for like what you might be interested in diving deeper on. Like you said,
Yes.
like like I said, I am constantly saying Children of Horn is an amazing book. And so I could
Mhm.
see someone coming in, reading your section on Children of Horn, and then being like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna dive into this book and give it a shot.
That's exactly what I want people to do. Take whatever little snippet speaks to you and just go so much deeper into it, because there is truly, it feels endless to me,
Yeah.
honestly. And I want to always give room for other fantasy stories to exist. I want Brandon Sanderson to be
Mm,
able to flourish. I want indie authors to be able to find their limelight. I want all of these the queer, the BIPOC community to have all of their flowers when they get them. But I just keep coming back to Tolkien over and over
yeah.
again, because once you dip your toe in, you realize just how deep this ocean of content goes. And it truly is an ocean. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, as you said that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, my Sanders shelf is right back there next to my
There we go.
Tolkien
There we
stuff."
go.
Good stuff. All right. Well, again, the book is J.R.R. Tolkien, the father of modern fantasy. We have matching copies there, me and Don. And you can get your matching copy. It is out right now. And you can order it. Check out the link in the description. I've also got it on the pinned comment. Katie's been kind enough to share it there throughout the stream.
Thank you, Katie.
But yeah, great stocking stuffer as well. If you have, maybe you're watching this
Oh,
and you have a Tolkien fan in your life,
such a
I
good
think this
idea.
would actually fit nicely right into a stocking. So
I'm
like a
so upset.
literal
I haven't thought about
stocking
that
stuffer.
until today.
Dude,
I really should have
perfect
made that a
size.
selling point. It
You
is the
could
perfect size for
you need
get
to
your stocking stuffer today.
stocking stuffer, you need to get a promotional image of this sticking out of a actual stocking, and then you post that on your Instagram or whatever.
I have to
There
get
you
out my
go.
Christmas decorations today.
You
Thank you so
should.
much.
Yeah. Are you a pre like get into Christmas before Thanksgiving, or do you have a hard line?
No, no, I
Okay.
leave my fall we have very fall, holiday,
Yeah.
festive stuff, my wife and I. It's an
Okay.
after Thanksgiving kind of deal.
Gotcha.
Usually first week in December, we're like, "Yeah, let's take the weekend, put up the
Yeah.
tree, do whatever we wanna do."
See, I start listening to Christmas music as soon as Halloween is over. I've already got one Christmas tree up. It's not fully decorated. It's not fully decorated. It just has the lights
Oh,
on,
no, I
but
love it.
I
I
get
love it so
I get
much.
excited. I get excited. It's fun.
Yeah, go for
Drag it
it.
out as much as possible, like, celebrate the season as long as you can. All right.
Exactly.
Speaking so there we go. Stocking stuffer. That's where we started with that tangent. This has been tangent number 73 of the, at least I didn't say 6, 7. This is, stocking stuffer for your holiday. J.R.R. Tolkien, the father of modern fantasy, by Mr. Don Marshall. Don, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been, once again, absolutely delightful. I love chatting with you. And hey, if you're just catching this for the first time, subscribe to Nerd of the Rings for your awesome Lord of the Rings content. If you're here and you're not already subscribed to him, I feel like there's a lot of crossover, but just in
Probably,
case, make sure
hopefully.
you're using that YouTube channel for good.
And definitely, and Don, tell them where all. I mean, I know you're on TikTok's your biggest platform, but you're
Yes.
pretty much everywhere. So
I
give
am. Yeah, I
people
gotta
tell
I gotta
people
go
where they can
everywhere.
find you. Yeah,
My primary platform is TikTok. I'm at Don Marshall 72, which you'll actually notice is on
the cover.
my author name is right there, and then just underneath it is Don Marshall 72 because they have to add the username as well. So I'm at Don Marshall 72 everywhere. Check me out on TikTok and Instagram. Those are the two platforms I use the most. I'm also on YouTube as well. I promise I'm not trying to step on your toes, Matt. I'm not going to be doing long form lore
Not at
videos. I
all.
have no interest just right now. But also, please, if you feel like supporting me or you want to be a part of the online community that I am putting the most effort into, please do check out my Patreon. That is patreon.com/DonMarshall72. Patreon is the platform that I feel I have the most creative freedom to do essentially whatever I want to do for an audience that I know is interested in sort of what I'm doing because I ask you guys what you want. You get behind the scenes footage and videos. You get a bunch of extra videos, discounts on all of my merchandise, live streams. Matt, I don't know if you're aware of this. Not this coming weekend, but next weekend on the 6th of December, we are going to be watching the Soviet Russian era stage play live.
Oh, a
With
stage play.
well,
Oh,
it is a stage play, but they shot some of the scenes outside and then they broadcast it on TV. It is
interesting.
absolutely wild and one of the funniest things I have ever seen. If that sounds fun, you should join us, Matt. I would love to
I
have you in
so
there.
I funny story. That is one of the first things that I did a live stream for. Like in the early days of my channel, I had like 20 people on the
Oh my
stream.
god.
Like max. I think we maxed out at 20. It was probably like hanging
Nice.
around 9 or 10. And we watched through the entire Soviet adaptation. It's wild. It's the one
It's
with like
so wild.
Samurai Boromir, right? Like
Yes,
Boromir is a
Samurai
samurai. Yeah.
Boromir.
Yeah.
There's our Legolas is played by a woman. They use Gimli as a table when they open a map one time. Also, there's no Balrog fight, which was what really
Oh,
made me angry. They straight up are like, "Where is Gandalf? I fear he fell." So anyway, if you that sounds interesting, you can check that out December 6th over on my Patreon, patreon.com/DonMarshall72.
awesome. Well, I'm sure, yeah, that will be a great time. I have not watched it in a few years, so I might have to join for that one because
Absolutely.
it is an experience.
Yeah.
It's an
It's
experience.
maybe not the best experience in
Right.
terms of cinema,
And
but it's
yet
something.
and yet,
And
I would
yet
still watch it over the Borman adaptation. So, I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, the book, one last time, J.R.R. Tolkien, The Father of Modern Fantasy, by Don Marshall. Check it out in the link in the description. Thanks again, Don, and we will see you all next time on Nerd of the